Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Yes.
A very warm welcome to all who have joined us on this third day of the 7-day FDP on NAAC Accreditation Framework organized by the IQAC of Jesus Jain College for Women, Veperi. Our guest speaker for today is Dr. Xavier Mahimairaj, Associate Professor and Head, a PG and Research Department of Commerce, Loyola College, who will enlighten us on the topic Application of Research Methodology in Social Sciences Research. Welcome, sir. Without much further ado, let's now invoke the blessings of the Almighty with a prayer, sir. May I now request the program organizer, Dr. M. Rajeshwari, Department of Commerce, to deliver the welcome address and introduce the chief guest.
A warm good afternoon to one and all present here. It's my immense pleasure and honor to welcome each and everyone on this third day of FDP program organized by GSS IQAC. First of all, I extend my hearty welcome to our today's resource person, Dr. A. Xavier Mahimairaj, Associate Professor and Head, PG and Research Department of Commerce, Loyola College. Also, I welcome our Secretary Sir, Dr. Gautam Vaid, and our beloved Principal, Dr. M.K. Maladi, for this program. My hearty wishes and welcome to the IQAC coordinator and the organizers and the members of 7 days FDP program. I extend my hearty welcome to all the participants and delegates from various colleges for sparing their valuable time and showing much interest to participate in our FDP program. Now, I take this opportunity to introduce our guest speaker of the day, Dr. A. Xavier Mahimairaj, Associate Professor and Head, PG Research Department of Commerce, Loyola College. Our guest speaker, Dr. Xavier Mahimairaj, is Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Commerce, Loyola College, Chennai. He has around 30 years of teaching experience at Loyola itself. He is a praiseworthy academician who has held several posts. He was the Vice Principal of Student Affairs, Shift 2. He was the coordinator of QLC Tuning Program and the IQAC coordinator. He has also held posts as Treasurer of Loyola Alumni Association, Academic Council member of the University of Madras, and LOCF mentor to the School of Commerce and Economics at Loyola College. His research contributions include UGC-sponsored minor projects done on the theme of microfinance and around 25 research articles published in various journals. He has guided PhD and MPhil scholars and attended a number of refresher and orientation courses. He has earned 2 online certificate courses from the University of Harvard and Hong Kong University. He is also the recipient of Innovative Teacher Award and was recognized as one of the top 50 directors and our coordinators of IQAC across India. To sum up, he is an able administrator and a motivated, experienced and talented academician. We are indeed privileged to have him are amidst us today. On behalf of the management and on behalf of the IQC team and on my own behalf, I extend a hearty welcome to you, sir. Once again, I welcome one and all present here. Thank you.
Cordial welcome. May I now request our guest speaker to accept an e-memento as a token of our appreciation and gratitude for him.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for graciously acknowledging the memento. Kindly take over the session and enlighten us with your valuable insights on the topic application of research methodology in social science research.
Distinguished organizers and revered participants, good afternoon to all. Outset, I would like to thank the organizers, more particularly the Secretary of the College and Dr. M.K. Malati, Principal, Dr. K.P. Varalakshmi, Head of the Department of Business Administration and IQAC Coordinator, and Dr. Helen Rajeshwari for this wonderful opportunity to meet you all today with this vital topic. I congratulate the IQAC team for this wonderful program of organizing 1 week national level faculty development programs. And all the topics are very relevant, and I hope definitely this program will it's much required fruits of success. So having said this, let me move on to the topic. It's a very interesting topic, and now everyone is more into research for various purposes. So I think as a part of the faculty development program, this topic gains its relevance. See, when we say what is, or when we ask what is research, we may get different answers. Depending upon who you ask this question, varied answers to this seemingly innocuous question. Some people would say that routinely they do research online to find the best place to visit or best things to purchase, or some good programs to be watched on TV channels. Some would say, yes, it is required to understand what is the success of government schemes. If you ask the students, it is a matter of submitting a research projects. If you ask research scholars, it is just a kind of a work to be done for the sake of earning a degree. And if you ask a businessman, it is for business analysis to find out various solutions for their business requirements. So it goes on like that. But we cannot call all this as a research. So when we say research, it should have two important characteristics to name it something as a research. One is it should contribute. It contributes to a body of science, and it follows a scientific method. Only then something we can call a kind of a work as a scientific research, or even just research as such. But having said this, our topic is on social science research. So the moment we talk about social science research, it is something on understanding the social behavior, of human beings. It deals with the systematic method of discovering new facts or of verifying old facts, their sequence, interrelationship, causal relationship, and the cause and effect, natural laws which governs them. So a kind of analysis being done across various disciplines of commerce, demography, psychology, sociology, but mainly deals with the behavior of people in their different roles, such as consumers, competitors, producers, executives, salespersons, leaders, workers, followers, retailers, students, opinion makers, etc. So, but what we try to do is it is something of understanding their behavior pattern. So you can really understand, and you can predict, and you can modify, and through which a lot of changes could be done in the context of social arena. So that's the main focus about it. So having said this, what is the importance? Why is it very important even right now, even though research on science front has a lot of significance in terms of converting them into product and services, and also in terms of getting patent rights, so on and so forth. But still, social science also is a matter of a big importance, because it directly involves creation of knowledge, policy guidelines, policy making, and also a change in scenario in terms of social situations. So, if you look at the impact of social science research, the first one is the problem solving. No, obviously, any social research is conducted for that. That's the thrust of most of the social researchers. So, social problems are felt directly by people, and that research by offering solutions to such problems, uh, uh, to solve and also to reconcile such kind of situations, and also create a situation with which is something absolutely problem free, conditions for the people at large. So that's the main impact. There are many researchers you could really identify. They have provided varied solutions to solve social issues. As I said earlier, the whole focus is to understand the behavior of human beings in the society. So, modified social behavior is the next important a kind of a need, as well as the scope, and even we can say the impact of social research. Then it provides a lot of development methodology, to understand the issues, so that one can contribute to the various front, how these solutions could be taken up and applied in real life situations. So that's called development methodology. I have examples later. I will give you some situations connected with the development methodology later. And it contributes to social development, in terms of creating the innovation, and also providing a creative knowledge and solution to the varied problems at the present. So it all adds to upgradation of society, and so that everyone will agree that knowledge is power, and that power is given through this kind of research. Formulation of new theories. Yes, of course. The aim of social science research is to come with the new theories. We have a lot of theories on leadership, motivation, human attitude, behavior, and so on. But still, the ever-changing phenomena of human beings, various characteristics, call for these new theories. Yes, of course. No, that is possible out of social science research, and it is a tool. Obviously, the social science is a tool for social planning, prediction, and control. Today, various plans that are and schemes that are envisaged by union and state governments out of this kind of social researches only. So we are able to come upon with the various what to say, the plans and schemes and the measures, appropriately, so that there is a sea change is happening the way in which that society we wanted to construct and develop and retain. And also, we can say the social science research contributes heavily on social welfare, in terms of what to say, uh, industry or consumers, or to students or social market. So a lot of contribution is done, which provides or which is being articulated as a social welfare schemes to the people in a society. And finally, I can say it adds a lot of dynamics to social institutions, because these institutions continuously involve in social research, through which they are able to do all whatever I listed earlier. So the social institutions have become so dynamic. So these are the impacts. So, having set these impacts, now let's see what's happening right now in social science researchers, or social researchers right at the moment. See, at the moment, if we take compared to science research, social science research are very less across the board of various disciplines of humanities and social sciences in the country. And now you could refer to various websites, you will understand the total amount spent on research, particularly on social science, is very less. So both demand and supply is not considerably what something to taken up for something for referral point when social science is taken into account. So very less is being accomplished. That's a reality. Why it is so? Because on supply side and demand side is no much of motivation and no much of support. So when you take a supply side, the kind of amounts available for investment on social science from various institutions, very less. Across the board, the amount spent on research is something very minimal. So obviously there is no incentives for research. There is no motivation for research. I mean, various no people really have such research minds. On demand side, social science research just even now looked as a kind of one of the options for earning a PhD degree, or just a few projects, whereas except a few here and there, some institutions really doing some meaningful, socially relevant research, which really comes out with the various policy guidelines as for the entire society for its welfare. So that's a reality that we have to understand. So we have to really sensitize ourselves, first of all, as a being academician attending these kind of orientation programs. Let us consider research as a movement from the known to the unknown. So this voyage of discovery is something what indispensable, and we have to continue all along. Only then we can make a kind of a change, in the society. So having said this, see, one of the models I would like to present today for your understanding. You see how this research has changed the scenario of understanding the recruitment, selection, and training and leadership. I hope from this picture, definitely you could guess what is being referred here. It is something on November 26, 2008. What happened? Heavily armed terrorists launched a series of attacks throughout Mumbai. One of the locations under siege was Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, which was occupied by the terrorists for over 3 days. I hope you could recall all this, resulting in 34 people killed and 28 injured. So that's what happened. But after 5 years, the world looks back at the bravery and resourcefulness shown by the employees of the Taj, who place the safety of guests over their own well-being, thereby taking risk, and in some cases even they sacrifice their lives. So Professor Rohit Das Pandey, who was interested in this case, and he involved in a case study, and brought out a wonderful piece of case-based social science research, which demonstrated, when you go through the entire case, you will understand, which demonstrated the behavior was not merely a crisis response. There is something behind it. Now, it was instead a manifestation of the Taj Group's deeply rooted customer centric culture, which other companies can emulate both in extreme circumstances and during periods of normalcy. The interesting findings of this case, the kind of recruitment policy, if you take, the whole company is so value driven recruitment system, and generally this group will go to recruit people from from small cities and towns, rather metropolitan cities, and to villages rather from town. So that's a very interesting finding. One of the reasons why people, when such a risking situation, by jeopardizing their safety, they were able to rescue their guests even by ready to sacrifice their lives. So generally, the reasons are, according to the case study finding, the first one, the Taj Group prefers recruit employees from the hinterland because that's where the traditional Indian values still hold sway. The another interesting reason why people behave like that the employees of Taj Hotel behaved like that training the customer ambassadors. They were trained as not ambassador of the company, as ambassador of the customers. So that's a kind of a training they got. Then another interesting finding, the trainings are assured that the company's leadership, right up to the CEO, will support any employee decision that puts guests front and center. It is not the company, it is not the employee, the guest. So that's the training they got, the kind of leadership is shown. That's why they are able to make out to what, even sacrifice their life to save their guests. And if you look at the recognition of the employees for whatever they have been doing, it is wonderful to note that the reward system is instant. They need not wait for a Diwali or Christmas or New Year to come upon. Instantly they are rewarded. So, all these consolidated together, there was a sea change among the behavior of employees. So they were able to really perform as a ambassador of the employees rather, or customers rather, the company. You say one research done by somebody on a particular case, sorry, after several years, that created a sea change now among the various companies to look upon their recruitment system and leadership style, and how they must be trained and compensated. So this is what the kind of power of or we can say the power of social science. It's just one example from the commerce front I have given. But unfortunately today, if you take the kind of research happening, because when I say research, majorly from research scholars, majorly research scholars, from the social science disciplines, particularly from arts and science colleges and university. There are here and there pockets of excellences, very significant outcome oriented research is happening, but unfortunately most of the researches are just what degree oriented. No, they are not giving importance to the real social outcomes. So that's the hard truth that we have to accept. So how to change? Now today, if you ask any research scholar who is doing research in commerce or social science disciplines or humanities, no, it is a template based research. No, some data collection, and there is a expert available to do SPSS kind of application analysis. Get a printout and write the findings and provide some recommendations. And even whether these recommendations are really research based and feasible one, no one is looking to it. Then finally, some scope for future research also referred, and this is submitted, defended, and very happy. Everyone is happy. Same way, guides also very happy for their career advancement schemes. Same way, some research paper is written. So the template-based research is happening. That's purely my opinion. Having seen now a kind of a research, the topics and also the outcomes in the past, there are here and there, some, as I referred earlier, pockets of excellence, really socially relevant research happening, and also that makes a change in society as well. But unfortunately, the numbers are a very few. So, what is needed right now in this context of methodology for social science research, or what methodology that we can apply for social science research? I would say, let's change our attitude first, you know, and let's have a clarity over these exposes. What is unit of analysis? What is the concept? What is the construct? What are variables? What is a proposition? What is hypothesis? And what theory that we could evolve, and what are the models that we could really evolve? These exposes only will make a strong research mind. And I tell you, these things will not happen all of a sudden. No, it requires a lot of training. It requires a lot of a kind of thing. No, only then. It is not just enough to go through a MPhil program, or it is not just enough to go through some research program alone. Rather, it should be a continuum, so that someone can scale up these exposes, and with which you can make out what some significant impact through the research on society. So before I go further, now could you please return the previous slide? Yeah, yes. So let me spend some time on each of this. Take the first one, the unit. So the unit of analysis. See, I have to. You may think that what is this? It is all very little or a small area. Should it be exposed to the faculty members, those who are attending the faculty development program? See, some of the topics, some of the variables, some of the data, when I go through in a research work, there is a glaring mistake on even the unit of analysis is misunderstood. Say, for instance, suppose I am interested in studying people's shopping behavior, or their learning outcomes, or their attitudes. Now, each one of it will become the unit of analysis. So if I am interested characteristics of people, how they develop teamwork in organization, then the unit of analysis is the group, each group. So the goal of research is to understand how the firms can improve the profitability or or make a good decision by making this particular group analysis, by allowing them to do a good teamwork. So this understanding will make a broad change. So understanding the unit of analysis is important because it shapes what type of data should be collected for your research work. And if your unit of analysis is a web page, for another example, you should be collecting data about web pages from actual web pages which are in usage, not on survey base, asking people something like that. So you try to understand how the understanding of unit of analysis will begin your research on a right foot. Second one, the concept, constructs, and variable. I think you are familiar with the concept. It is a generalizable, or we can say generalizable properties or characteristics associated with a object, event, or people. But when you say construct, it is an abstract concept that is specifically chosen to explain a given phenomenon. For example, say construct may be a simple concept which is very specific. For example, if I say something about a person's weight, or say someone's communicative skills, so which may consist of several underlying concepts, such as particularly on communication skill, person's vocabulary, syntax, and spelling. Whereas when we talk about the previous one, the weight of the person, it is very clearly possibly be expressed without much of ambiguity. So the difference is what is a concept and what is a construct. That understanding is another important thing that to be understood in the context of social science researches. The next one, the variable. So I think you can go to the next slide, please. Yes. So when we talk about the variable, so there are different types of variable. Generally, we talk about only the dependent variable and independent variable, but there are variables called as a mediating variable and moderate variable as well. So a proper understanding is required on this. So only then you will understand what type of variable to be taken into account for your research. So for example, say attitude, you take attitude may be defined as a disposition, a feeling, or an affect, and affect in turn is defined as an attitude itself. So here when I talk about this operational definition of this, now I should understand what a variable that I should take into account for the purpose of my analysis. Okay. So am I going to take survey based or question based responses? Okay. Or am I going to give a kind of any scientifically administered test to get the score, based on that to have the data for further analysis? So I have to really focus on these variables. I'll give another example. Suppose if I state that higher intelligence causes improved learning among students, then the intelligence is a different variable, independent variable, and learning is a different variable. The way that I am coining the particular the statement. There may be other extraneous variables that are not pertinent for explaining a given different variable, but may have some impact on the different variable, and they control the whole scientific study. So here, if we believe that intelligence influences or explains students' academic achievement, then the measure of intelligence, such as an IQ score, is an independent variable, while measure of academic success, such as a grade point average, is a different variable. If you believe that the effect of intelligence on academic achievement also depends on the effort invested by the student in the learning process, uh, then we can say intelligent students, the students who puts more effort achieves higher academic achievement than one who puts less effort. Then effort becomes a moderating variable. And instantly, one may also view effort as an independent variable and intelligence as a moderating variable. If academic achievement is viewed as an intermediate step to higher earning potential, then earning potential becomes the different variable. You see, you know, from my focus as each variable is changing from one phase to another, so a proper understanding is required. Unless we have this understanding and thinking like a research requires a kind of a researcher requires not only being able to abstract constructs from observations, but also being able to mentally visualize a nomological network linking these abstract constructs with appropriate variables. So this is what the another important thing that we have to understand. Then I come to the next important exposure, what is required to all the researchers right now, the proposition and hypothesis. See here, what is a proposition? Uh, it is a tentative relationship between constructs that is stated in a declarative form. So it's a proposition. For example, an increase in student intelligence causes an increase in their academic achievement. So I just make a statement. It is a declarative statement, but does not have anything no empirically proved. So it is a proposition. But what is a hypothesis all about? See, hypothesis is something now empirically subject to testing. It is empirically now testable using observable data. Then we can say that is the something as a hypothesis. So when we form a hypothesis, we must know, there are different ways by which we can form it, but usually we say there is a relationship, there is association between the kind of variables that we want to test like that. But we must know now how to frame the hypothesis. And some hypotheses are very strong, and some hypotheses are called as something as a weak, and something which clearly explains the cause and effect relationship. So we have to be very careful in terms of what, in terms of making a proper hypothesis. Uh, what I have tried to communicate so far. Now, let us have a kind of understanding on all this before we venture into a proper, and scientifically going to be administered social research. Could you please go to the next slide? Next slide. Yes. So this is the model that or we can say methodology we supposed to apply in any context. What may be the objective? So have a research questions and do a proper literature review. Unfortunately, even research scholars do not know what is the purpose of literature review. The first of all, the whole purpose of literature review is to know about the literature that are available on the topic that you are really working on. The author, researchers, whoever contributed. Then to gain a kind of understanding over concepts, constructs, and variables supposed to be considered. Then finally, to know the gap, what is missed out, so how you could get into on that possible scope to fill the gap. So that is required to understand the whole lot. Then come to the research design. What type of a methodology you want to adapt? Is it explorative or descriptive or case based or survey based? Decide that. Then have a kind of what deciding your data collection instrument, administer it and validate it, so that final testing is conducted. And then after having a validity is something significant in terms of data and the instrument, everything, then you can go for data collection. Then test with statistical packages appropriately for the purpose of getting some inferences, then come out with findings and solutions. So this is a very generic process methodologies, obviously to be applied in any context of social science research. Next slide, please. So I would suggest a very simple methodology. Even if you take a kind of a small example, suppose I want to study the impact of social media on what voters to decide their choice. Suppose this is what I want to see, the impact of social media. So I have to make an observation first. Social media appears to have played an important role in the election results based on what the various reports that we have, and the personal observation that you can generate. So make an observation on the topic that you have. Then formulate the hypothesis. Social media increases flows of information and raises the informational awareness of voters about topics related to election. So based on the observation, I come up with the kind of hypothesis that I want to test. And having decided on that, I can go to the next step, make a prediction based on the hypothesis. So what could be possible? Now, the more that the news story is mentioned in social media, the more awareness is created among the voters, and that will be about that news story, and that impacts the decision of the voters. So I formulate the next level of understanding on what I have for my research. Then I should go for deciding appropriate data to test the prediction. No, that's my research questions to be answered. So what data would be required to investigate this claim, what I am proposing? Then based on that, we supposed to go for data collection. And once the data collection is over, then probably you can test with statistical methods to infer the results. So what is the appropriate data here? I come to this table a little later. Before that, let me speak on the appropriate data. So having said that, this is what my topic is going to be, since elections are being around, I'm just giving this as one of the examples. So here the main prediction is that the more mentioned, repeated the story that are available in social media will lead more knowledge of the voters. So what data would be required here to investigate the claim? So here, now I have to take into account the counts of posts. I have to take into account how many people are repeatedly posting the particular matters of concern that provokes, and also that creates knowledge on various issues that will decide on voting. What is the time range is experienced? How often these things are posted, by whom? So like that, I have to take into account everything for my analysis. And all these are the data that I required from different aspects, then I have something very consolidated way in my hand to measure how the voters decide. So a survey becomes a mandatory. Then I have to really go for what analysis. So now I come to the analysis part. See, there's a very simple model that available in any research methodology textbook, just for the suggestion, apply application model. So based on the different types of data that we have, I hope you are familiar with, nominal and scale oriented this thing, then cardinal, or we can say ordinal and categorical data. So all these are there. Those based on the data and the scale that we have. We have a nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, ratio. So for each of it, a specific measures are to be applied. When it is a nominal, usually to present that data, we use one of the measures of central tendency, the mode, then to infer the relationship, and also to decide on a hypothesis. Chi-square is a simple tool to be applied. If it is an ordinal scale based kind of data, then to represent the data, we have a median. For example, salary or income of employees, so on and so forth. Then statistics, probably percentiles. Then now we can apply something like what non-parametric tools to apply it. When it is an interval-based type of the scale that is possible for data, then arithmetic mean, range, standard deviation could be applied. Then the statistics to be applied for analysis, correlation, regression, then ANOVA. So all those could be possible. Suppose it is a ratio-based scale, then geometric mean and harmonic mean is to represent the data, and ANOVA, coefficient of variance, again can be applied. So based on the scale, the type of the data that you have, and you have to decide the particular tool, and based on that, you choose appropriate parametric and non-parametric tools for inferring the results. So the moment you have a results, I hope everyone knows now, as far as this aspect is concerned, just applying the p-value to decide whether the null hypothesis to be accepted or rejected. I don't want to go in detail on that. So have a simple methodology in your mind and accordingly go further. So having said this, now I'll move on to the next slide. Please, as we're all very much interested in knowing the methodology to be applied in social science research, let us be reminded on research ethics as well. Because very sorry to say, again, it is not in all cases, but the instances, number of cases are ever increasing on the front of plagiarism, and repeatedly doing conveniently on the same topic by doing some cosmetic changes. This also is another kind of error is usually noted in the context of academic research, particularly in social science subjects. Just change of a small scope, variable, a kind of a perspective, enough to gain a new dynamics. I think that is to be addressed. So what I thought of, it is not only to know only the methodology to be applied and having some research exposes, it is better to have some focus on research ethics as well. So please never ever try to plagiarize, and do not fabricate or falsify the data research procedures or data analysis. Respect the rights of research subjects, particularly their rights to information of privacy, and to being informed about nature of research and types of activities in which they will be asked to engage. It's very important. And do not make misrepresentations to editors and conference program chairs about the originality of papers you submit to them if it is a research based. Do not abuse the authority and responsibility you have been given as an editor, reviewer, or supervisor, or a researcher, and ensure the personal relationship do not interfere with your judgment. So go by the material and research, and declare any material conflict of interest that might interfere with your ability to be objective and impartial when reviewing, and submitting your research papers, and also proposals, projects, grant applications, software, etc. Please do that. Be something what if there is anything of conflicting interest involved, declare it. Do not take or use some published data of others without acknowledgement, or unpublished data without permission. Acknowledge the substantive contribution of all research participants, whether colleagues or students or research scholars, according to their intellectual contributions. And very importantly, do not use others people's unpublished writings, information, ideas, concepts, or data that you may see as a result of processes such as a peer review without permission of the author. So I reiterate all these points for the sake of your your information, so that something you will not indulge. So what we do is a genuine, a proper research work of our own. So this is what that I have for you under the topic what I have prepared. So having shared all this, I would like to leave with you some topics also, because sometimes it is frustrating to see repeatedly a kind of the same topics appearing in commerce and sociology, social work, and other areas as far as social science and humanities is concerned. So let us do some concrete work. There are many areas which require lot of social research work. For example, you take SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Right now, it is a important a matter of concern, because the deadline is 2030. We are in 2023, 7 years time. So what is the progress? The research can be done at various levels. What are the contributions of the central government, state government, each institutions, of academic importance and research importance? How, as an individual, I have directly contributed to these SDGs could be a very interesting and worthwhile venture into social science research. So, if you take this one, role of social workers, on various front in social work areas like women empowerment, and on counseling. So it goes on like this. Or you take on the ground of sociology, lot more can be done in terms of understanding why the racial segregation still it's happening, and how this interracial a kind of attitude and also this kind of discriminative factors, how be a detrimental to various social developments. A study on gender stereotyping. Now, on culture, we can compare culture of two countries, and how at the moment it becomes a need of art to understand the culture for various social developments. So like that we can go on list many in terms of various subjects. For example, you take the impact of globalization. Still, it is a matter of concern. The effect of population, and what is the right now situations on depression on various segments, how it affects political science. Not more can be done in terms of social research. So I can go on now listing various topics for your consideration. So dear participants, it may be a kind of a consolidative effort to put together the meaning and importance, and also the kind of exposes that we require and methodology to be followed, so that we can make our social science research as a meaningful one and really outcome oriented one. So that's what that I have tried my level best, along with the ethics, as well as some topics for your consideration in terms of social science research and for social welfare purposes. So having said this, I would like to end my session with the last two slides. Could you please go to the next slide? Next slide, please. Yes. Say, when we talk about the research, it is something cannot be learned all of a sudden, or just within a little span of time, writing few papers, or just working on a research project and earning a research degree. It is something a very continuous one. It should become our way of life and habit, and only then the excellence research will become possible. Unless this excellence is being part of the the research phenomenon, there won't be a impact on society. There won't be an impact on social welfare. So serious work to be done from the government, from the institutions, to promote to social science resources. So a lot of funding is required, lot of motivation and incentives required on supply side. Then on research demand side, now when you take scholars, those who are pursuing research programs for their degree, and also professors, those who are involved in research, and the various industries and companies and social institutions pursuing research work for the sake of policy making, bringing new knowledge. Please ensure that we are taking up socially relevant research, and we applied a scientific body of methodology, so that the outcomes are something observable, applicable, feasible, and we can implement all those measures, so that the change is visible on the society. So this how that excellence should be thought of on the context of social science research. So let's strive for that excellence, and that is the need of the hour. So with this, I once again thank all the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, kindly post the questions. I would be much interested in taking up a few. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for defining research as a voyage of discovery from the unknown to the known, and also a tool for the change in the society. It was an awesome session with lots of information, instilling the thirst of research. Moreover, citing the example of elections, which are around the corner, as a topic for elections was phenomenal. Thank you so much, sir. Now the floor is open for questions. Participants, if you have any query, you can post it in the chat box. Sir, may I ask a question? Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, what do you think plays a major role, the aptitude or the attitude for a research scholar in starting a research?
I would say both required. The basic aptitude required in terms of comprehending the particular scenario, then picking up possible hypothesis, pursuing the research. So I need the first one, and I would say the research basic skills and aptitude, prerequisites, but the attitude makes a difference. No, it is not just thinking of earning a degree or just completing a kind of a small piece of work for the sake of career advancement scheme CAS, or just to get some incentives, or to be
Okay.
happy with a few a kind of what is it, recognition as a contributor. Rather,
Okay.
the attitude must be I would be a person to make
Hmm.
some change in the society through my meaningful research.
Hmm.
Can I go by picking up something very relevant for the context in today's reality? Then my
Hmm.
serious input will provoke people, those who are responsible, available at different levels, to pick up
Hmm.
my dynamics for implementation. If someone could emulate that, develop that type of attitude, with which if they come into research front, then some meaningful work will happen.
Well said, sir. Well said. Thank you so much. Could you tell us regarding some research funding agencies?
So there are many, but unfortunately, for social science, a few available. But
Hmm.
there is a significant funding available from both government, state government, and the central government through research institutes. So I think you
Okay.
can browse the funding agencies that are available for social science research. Uh, of course, some amount of facilities available, but overall, if you take the amount is very less, but still, we cannot say it is absolutely not available. There are few resources, but I'm not very specific purposely. You please explore. No, it is not restricted with only ICSSR or something like that. Rather, even some of the private companies are ready to fund fund what social researches. So let's be aware of such sources as well.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. Participants, are there any other questions? Or shall we move to the vote of thanks? Any other questions?
So we have a question. I have just highlighted it. Nowadays, many clone journals are in the market. How to identify?
Yeah, this is a very challenging one. But before answering this, because it is again a challenging one for me also to identify. There are many fake also available. But what I would suggest, research scholars don't focus on only these aspects. You please try to publish your research work in Scopus, and indexed journals. So obviously, that will be part of UGC CARE listed journals, and you will have a greater acknowledgement for your research work. So instead of probing into that, so you identify the quality journals. One of the ways by which quality journals could be identified is generally they don't ask for money to publish what your work, and also cumbersome process is always involved in terms of assessing your research work. Then unless something is significant in terms of a genuine and proper, authentic, you know correct work is being submitted, it it never be accepted for research publication. So that type of journals that you have to identify easily, it could be identified.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, participants?
There is one more question, ma'am. How can I get journals that consider and publish raw research data that is based on a social research?
How can I get journals? There are many social science journals available on each of the disciplines. No, so according to your domain specific discipline, you choose, and you can read the articles, and from there you can pick up the data if you want to make use of for your research work. So getting journals right now in the with the availability of so much web-based technology is not a big matter at all.
And there is one more
Thank
question,
you,
sir.
sir. Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
we all know that research is time consuming and poor earnings. The world revolves around money. It's difficulty, especially one has a family to support. So, what's your advice on how to balance the both?
Yes, say I completely agree with you. That's why I said there is no much of incentives, there's no much of motivation, and also a kind of financial facilities that are available. But see, having decided to do a research, you must be prepared for it. That's another important thing that I would like to reiterate. So you identify some of the sources which that you could really manage what your requirement. uh, then you can save your spending on research also if you are proficient in on research analysis, because most of the time people are spending too much of money on for getting your data analyzed with or treated with certain packages, then submitting for the results. Suppose if you have trained, if you have become proficient in using SPSS or certain tools which you could apply for your data to be treated to get the results, then you can minimize your spending. So like that, you try to do something, then accordingly you make it out. Definitely it is challenging one, because sometimes people are charging it. It's so sorry to say, it's very much happening. I'm not saying anything hard which is not happening. A kind of unethical practices also in place. So you please be away from such sources, such type of backgrounds, and try to make use of your potentials to apply research analysis and come out with your minimum resources some meaningful output. So that's how you have to really look at and do it.
And there is one
Do
more
we have
question, sir.
any other questions?
Yes. Why government focuses on only important institution in research area and also funding, not support for college?
uh, we can't say not support for colleges. There are schemes available, but of late, the recent times, we feel those fundings are not regularly made available. So that's why this kind of perspectives being represented here, and also in different forums. So what I would say, we have to represent this in different forums. Let it reach the policymakers and also leaders in state and union government, so that they also realize the importance of making funds available. But for an information, but there are universities, there are colleges, they fund various projects out of the way on their own to propagate and also to promote social science researches. So there is definitely a major concern, but we have to represent, we have to voice up. That's the only way that we can get required funding, whatever is possible from different sources.
Thank you,
And there is
sir.
one more question, sir. What is the appropriate research methodology for both quantitative and qualitative data analysis?
Both are different. No, sometimes you can apply both the tools, but no, methodology will be different. If you have a qualitative database this thing, then there are case based or survey based things to be done. If it is all quantitative methodology that you have, then parametric tests could be applied, and based on that, there are different methodologies. For example, say a scientific type of research or descriptive, no, experimental based methodology, all could be applied. Explorative, descriptive, all comes under a kind of a method, or case based comes under the category of qualitative data based work.
And there is one more question, sir. From the Mumbai attack study, we can understand that rural people are more selfless than urban. Can you share your opinion on why and what made urban people to behave selfishly? Steps to
Uh,
overcome.
yes, yeah, we need not. This could be a topic for a research actually. Say, based on the case study done by Professor Rohit no, Das Bande, he referred that the kind of a policy Taj Group has for recruitment, and based on the inputs received from the employees, the contention is like that. We cannot universalize the whole no proposition. If you want to make it, let it be a research work, then you come up with a kind of a the same. But there is a strong references there, even in the theory and all this. People, those who are coming from the rural, now they are very ethnic, they are deeply rooted on culture, and also what deeply rooted on their value system, you know that manifests in terms of loyalty and truthfulness and also openness. So that's a kind of understanding that we have from various references, but we cannot universalize the whole opinion, and discount that people, those who are living in urban, do not have that intensity. No, so we cannot generalize it. If at all to be done, a research to be done, and also we can say that based on the available backgrounds, these things are uh, just taken for our understanding. That's it.
Any more questions, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Which are
So
the best
I
places?
think obviously this plagiarism, journals, all these are usual questions, which could be really checked with the various websites, because these are the very common kind of usual doubts that we have, which can be clarified. Whereas the concept base, if you have anything that I can make it out, there are many tools available. Now, open tools are available. If you pay a little bit more on licensed softwares, then you can really get it down. All institutions have, so you can ask your institution, do the check for your requirements. So like that, you can manage it. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you, sir. I guess your session was so interesting that you're besieged with questions. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, participants, for all those
Thank you.
pertinent
Thank you. Thank you so
questions.
much.
And thank you, sir, for your crystal clear answers. Now, may I request Mrs. Punita, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Accounting and Finance, to propose the vote of thanks.
So before that,
Good afternoon, all.
before that, I would like to thank everyone for this wonderful opportunity. Sorry that I couldn't take up all your questions. Only few are addressed. And suppose if anything is very important, my email ID is available. You can contact me in person. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this FDP such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. A. Xavier Mahimairaj, Associate Professor, Head, PG and Research Department of Commerce, Loyola College, for gracing this today's FDP program. We are thankful to our Honorable Secretary, Dr. P. Kautham Vaid, for his motivation. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. M.K. Malati, for her enthusiastic support and encouragement. A special thanks to the organizing committee for their unflinching support and coordination. Last but not least, our heartfelt thanks to all the faculty members from the various colleges for your active participation in this FDP program. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Link is
Thank you.
posted in
Yeah.
the chat box, so kindly fill in the attendance. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. So
Absolutely.
let's end the
I'm
session.
honored. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So let's end the session with the national anthem.
अधिनायक जय भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय
A heartfelt thanks to all the participants and the guest speaker. Thank you all.